All right, guys, so we have here our Whirlpool suspension rods. Now, you guys have already seen the ones with the collar. Now, these with the collar, you can easily put the collars on. I call this a collar, but really it's like a nipple. So the video on that is pretty good. People love it. And any of these videos that you see that I put out, I always do experiment first and make sure that it's actually worth doing before I actually put them out. So these particular rods, you can use the collar on. On these guys, you can't. There's nothing to attach it to. So I have the solution. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna cut away here. I'll show you. You're gonna get a hacksaw and you would cut, but you don't want to go all the way through. You just want to cut up to the point to where it stops. So you can have basically a round shaft. Now you want to make sure it's super round. You want to get all of the edges, you may say, off. Now it's a sharp razor, be careful. And when you cut, you want to cut and trim away anything that would restrict the collar from locking down. So you could also use a sandpaper just to make sure it's nice and round. And pretty much just showing you how to do it. Okay, you're gonna look somewhat like that. Now, when you're done, you're gonna be like this. Okay. And you can see it slides right through. And you can increase the stiffness as well. Now, a couple things to note. I will probably include longer screws. I don't like these screws, so I will be including longer screws because you want to take advantage fully of every thread inside of this. So I noticed that you don't fully get everything all the way seated. These screws are a little short, so yeah, you don't get all the way through. So I'm gonna be including longer screws. If you guys ordered these, I will supply them. The link, I think you can't, I forgot. I will double check and update it in the description. But if I'm not mistaken, you can't buy just 4. So that's the only thing. So they make you buy more than, definitely more than 4. I think it was a set of 12 or something minimum. So what I will do, but I want to upgrade these because if you don't have enough bite as you're going in, these will slip out. And I noticed that these are a little bit harder than up here. So you want to make sure that you get it fully trimmed as much as possible so that you're able to get the collars on. So basically you want to trim it down nicely. You can also use sandpaper and just trim it. Even if you go a little bit deeper, that's totally fine because you want to basically get it to where the collar can bite down nicely. You don't want to go too small, but you're okay if you go a little lower than normal. In fact, you could also use your torch and just heat it really quick, or even your cigarette lighter, whatever. Just gonna soften it slightly. It gives it a better bite, but you don't have to. But the longer screw, you should be fine. Just make sure that when you're putting pressure, when you're turning the screws, you do them in tandem. Do not over tighten one screw, so you're gonna end up pulling one screw out, and it's gonna damage the screw, especially these short screws. They're not long enough. So that's why I'm gonna be including longer screws, so that you're not gonna have a problem. Now, if you don't use the longer screws, you might still be okay, but you definitely have to take your time as you install them. You might have to loosen the nut somewhat. All right. If you can force it on a little bit, that's even better, because you're keeping the thread as far as possible down. Now, you want to make sure that you have enough on it, at least at the edge. And if it's too tight, then you loosen it up. Yeah, we're right at the edge, so that's not bad. And gotta find, had a damaged screw. Gotta figure out which one it was. It looks good. Also, guys, if you have a vice grip or channel lock, you can also apply some pressure here, so you pre-tension, so that you don't use the screws to do all the pulling, per se. So you want to go back and forth. As you turn one, you tighten the other. And as you do that, you want to see if this is compressing. This material, the black material, is a lot harder, obviously, than the top. So it does require more pressure. Now, here's another trick that I do. Now, these have threads only on one side. So the top basically just free fall or free flow. So what we're going to do, I'm going to set this on the bottom, and you're going to do a slight tap. What this is doing is compressing the plastic even more and gives you more of a bite, so you can turn a little bit more without putting too much torque on the screws. Like I said, once you get the longer screws, I think you should be okay. But these screws are definitely short. Still not tight. Getting there. And when you turn, don't go crazy because you'll end up snapping those threads. You got to go really slow because the idea is you're compressing. You're literally squeezing. Look at that. Definitely tight. You're compressing the plastic. Maybe we can get another turn out of this. And the gap that you're gonna have, that's about a dime. It's pretty thin on both sides. I would probably say maybe a razor, a little bit, maybe 2 razors. You get a razor in there. Yeah, you get a razor in there. Just trying to think. Okay, so yeah, you can't get 2 razors. You can't get 2 blades in there. Okay, and that's pretty good. In fact, 1 would be nicely snug, but this is pretty good. Yeah, this is pretty good. And like I said, you can go back and tighten them. This one has not been touched. Look at that. Super, super soft. I mean, look at that. Look at that. So we've got to finish him up. This guy's done. Look at that. Does not turn. The top piece turns, but the bottom doesn't. Tight. Now, when you push down, especially when you have all 4 working, you can definitely feel the resistance. See how fast that comes up? Way fast. So, yep, just get your ends nice and trimmed nicely. If you want to get your lighter or a torch and just heat this really quickly just to get it a little bit softer. Not melting now, just a little bit softer so that when you put your collars on, it crushes it nicely because this is a little bit hard, definitely hard. But like I said, with the longer screws, should be totally okay. So I'm gonna snug this up. And also what you can do, as you let it sit, you can also go back and just another turn. Because you gotta remember the pressure is on it. So just don't overdo it. Just take your time and slowly go down on it. It should be, oh yeah, much better. Much better. So you don't want them too tight, but you don't want them too loose. And again, if you want to use the hammer and tap or just heat it slightly with the torch, in fact, I will do that and show you. Never just tighten one. Not bad. Oh yeah. All right, let's see if I can add a little heat and snug it up even more. All right, so what we're gonna do, I'm gonna add just a little bit of heat. I'm gonna use my torch. All you're doing, just heating it up. Nothing crazy. Now, you can apply just a little more pressure. So much softer. Oh yeah. And as you do that, you want to, oh yeah, that's tight. And you still have some crush zone left. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Oh yeah. I am pulling and I'm moving it, but it feels good. It definitely feels good. Maybe one more snug. And guys, you will fine tune yours based on how, how much heavy you do, but keep in mind, heavy loads will kill your machine anyways. So pretty much you want to be at, I would say, a blade. If you can get 2 blades in, I think you're not tight enough. Yeah. So 1 blade should basically slide in. Yeah. On both sides. Yep. Beautiful. All right. I think this is it. I got 2 more to do. And oh yeah. I wish I could show you comparison, but the best thing is when you put it on your machine, you will pretty much see how it does. This one is not touched, and you can see how easily it moves. Look at that. I can't even pull it. There you go. Can't pull it. So all you're doing is softening the plastic so you get a better crush. And it crushes faster. So much easier. You can actually feel it. And we probably get a quicker, you may say, friction. A lot softer. And a lot easier to turn. Okay, hardening. Now with the longer screws, you might not need to use the torch or your lighter. It's kind of hot, so be careful. Oh wow, okay. Now a couple, people have mentioned those, that grease, the super tacky grease. I've used it before. I'm not a big fan of it, to be honest. It works, but it dissipates quite often. But you can use grease as, you may say, the replacement of an actual contact point. It will move and it will dissipate. It just will not work. Now, if you want to add some to this, might actually be pretty good. It helps to absorb some of the dampness, but on its own, it's not going to work. or if it does work, it won't last. That's pretty good. I think this is pretty good. That's good. This is good. Oh yeah, perfect. All right, guys, that covers that. Definitely include the heat if you're gonna use these screws. But like I said, if you buy the kit from me, then I'll include the longer screws. So look forward to that. And you probably won't even need to use the heat. But by using the heat, I noticed they go down easier and you get a tighter compression. Basically, a tighter fit where it contacts that, literally crushes it. And you still have room, so you can also crush it again. I forgot to include this portion that you don't have to use the hacksaw. If you want to just use your wire snipper, you just go around, snip. It's all about making life easier and getting the job done. And now you can use your razor, or you can even use these and snip along the edge. A lot faster. It's about options. And then if you need to use a razor, you can, just to scoot around and trim the final pieces. And a little bit safer than the razor as well, because you know you could slip, and that's not a good thing. All right, so that's done. And all you would do now, just trim with your razor. I'm sure most of you guys already know that, but if you didn't, never cut towards you. Cut towards you. Now you can cut towards you, but like I said, be careful. So you don't want to have any edges, any corners. They need to be smooth. Everything has to be round. All right, so I gotta get a new collar since one of them is no good. And that's how you want to look. And then we're gonna heat him up once he's on. Again, you notice one side is more, so you gotta raise it up. And sometimes you can force this on, and that helps you out because you're not, see how loose that side is? You gotta loosen this one way more. And then tighten this somewhat. You want them to be about the same. All right, I think that's pretty good. All right, so now you can snug just a little bit. Add some heat. Now you don't want to melt the stuff, you just want to just heat it up. You can smell a little plastic, that's okay. All right, so it's getting harder now. So I'm going to add just a little more heat. All right, the next clip that is coming up, it's going to be me doing another suspension rod in which I showed you how to use sandpaper, 120 grit, to increase the friction. The rod where the friction is most usually gets really smooth, so you want to basically use the sandpaper to increase some friction, and that will help a lot. More than one ways of getting it done. And then of course, if you want, you can just push this together. Don't forget the sandpaper. You will need to roughen around here again. This guy will keep everybody together. Comes up nice and smooth. Look at that. All right, one last one left. All right, so let's see. Oh, that's tight. Oh yeah, that's good. That's really good. That's perfect. All right, so this is the other one I was talking about. As you can see, those screws are super long, and that gives you the full capacity of the collar. So if your screws all the way through, you're gonna have a stronger bite. All right, guys, we were done. Got to clean up, and that's how you do that. Almost got burnt. Thanks for watching.